Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to this week's episode of the 13th Floor Podcast. I am Cece.
I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And Alex, what are we talking about today?
Weather modification.
Yes. This is...
The second time, I think? Or third time?
I think it's the second time.
It's the second.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a long time ago. We talked about, like, harp and stuff. But it's something we haven't covered in a very long time. But I feel like a lot of people have been talking about it lately, given...
Some stuff going on?
Yeah, sorry. We've got... I hear baby crying in the background.
Oh.
Jeez.
It's a very delicate situation when the baby wakes up and starts to cry. So I'm just going to talk quiet today.
Oh.
A little ASMR episode, right? No. Listen, I have an icebreaker.
All right. What is it?
My icebreaker. This is something I think about all the time. Okay, so I especially want to hear your answer, James. If given the opportunity, would you ever want to be the president of the United States of America?
No.
No, Alex, why not?
Why? Why would you want to be?
Seems stressful as hell. I would not want to be president of the United States of America. And then you have to have security with you literally everywhere you go.
We don't have to, but it's a bad idea.
Yeah. James, I have a feeling, I don't know, I just have a suspicion James's answer would be different than ours. But maybe not,
yeah.
James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would enact martial law immediately.
Well,
No, he's not.
You kind of predicted it. I would say no, just because it's not authoritative enough. I would much rather be like a god king or something. So, yeah, an emperor, something where, you don't have to kowtow to anybody else.
So you wouldn't be President James. You would be Emperor James.
I mean, I'd be president at first, maybe, but then, yeah, it would change dramatically.
Emperor. He'd even have like a band play his march every time it came out.
I like...
Specially composed march by Hans Zimmer.
And when you're like a dictator, you have to like give yourself a whole bunch of medals for no reason. So you're just like covered in medals.
What would be your most coveted medal that you gave yourself?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good one. Probably like something that's like kind of like a Purple Heart, but it's like being the hero of a war that never even took place.
I thought it was going to be Lord of Spiders.
I thought of that. That would be pretty cool.
The idea went through his brain.
Yeah.
But
speaking of which, 3 of them molted this week. So.
Oh wow!
Does temperature have to do with that? Like, why
Absolutely.
did they molt at the same time?
Yeah, their metabolism's speeding up.
I'm learning stuff from James.
Yeah.
It's helpful when you've got a friend who's obsessed with spiders. All right, listen. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we hop on into the topic this week? Weather modification?
The reason I wouldn't want to be president: A, too stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
B, I probably won't be able to get the things done that I want to get done. C, it just doesn't seem very fun.
No, it
To be
doesn't.
perfectly honest.
I think it's very interesting when you look at the pictures of presidents when they start versus when they end, and they look like it's only been 4 years, but you look like you've aged 20.
Yeah.
I just have no interest in that. No interest at all. Did you guys ever run for class president when you were in school?
No.
We didn't really have that.
I forgot, James. You grew up in a small town.
Yeah.
We had it at our school. It's just a popularity contest. And I'm like, I would never win. So I said, to hell's with it. I want nothing to do with it.
It just seemed, I never knew anyone was doing anything until it was like, oh, time to vote. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not gonna vote.
That's how it was at our school. It's like time to vote. And it's like, well, what am I voting for? Like, I'm just voting. What's their platform? They never had one. Never had one. Anyways. All right. Weather modification. Alex, you're starting us off this week.
Yeah, I had a few. It's just like a little gamut.
Okay, all right.
A little hodgepodge, a little bag of marbles.
Okay, what marbles are you going to throw out here?
All right. I'll start out with the lamest
Lamest?
to the best. Listen, some are gems, somewhere like coal, maybe turning into a diamond. We'll see.
Here's the thing, James. I'm going to say this before Alex even gets into it. He does not believe in weather modification.
That's not even
all.
true. I just don't. I think the topics are limited. So when you grab the poison fog, I'm like, oh.
I took it.
When you grab the something,
Hurricane.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Oh man. But I do have one for you that's pretty good.
Okay, tell me about it.
But nothing really came of it, which was a little. Well, I already spoiled the topic.
Yeah, come on.
So, how about this? I'll do this one first. The 2025 California storms and flooding.
There's
lots
of
of stuff happened in California at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Lots of rain, lots of fire, lots of everything. Now, the claim is that a lot of people believe that they're blaming cloud seeding as the reason for why things were so crazy in February.
Huh.
So why there were these intense storms and flooding all through February 2025. And there are videos that out there of them
seeding the clouds.
well, them seeding the clouds, and it's something that they actively do in California. They do seed the clouds
to try and make the rain.
to try and make the rain happen. Now they did because they started this cloud seeding program in November of 2024.
Yeah.
So just 3 months later, it seems like maybe they created a little bit of a monster.
Kind of
Unwittingly.
like Mayor Humdinger in the Paw Patrol movie.
Exactly. Yeah, so they started the program because they needed water. California is notorious for being low on water. Their water table's always dropping, all this other stuff. But people are like, I don't know if that's a smart idea. It just seems dumb, like a waste of time. And then, after the storms came, they're like, maybe we should stop. And then some people blame them for possibly causing the fires as well because of
because it is like a result of everything that happened.
Yeah, just because of like the winds and everything else, and just causing a real tumultuous atmosphere in the area. Maybe, but seeding is something that's been done for a long time.
Absolutely.
I don't see it as being a cause for this personally.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It was just a weird, large scale phenomenon in the area, and I just think that it was just a freak of nature.
It was bad time.
Yeah, it was a bad time. But it was also weird that happened this year?
What?
The Texas blue rain. Y'all remember these videos?
I do not. What was the blue rain?
No, Texas had in May 2025.
So just last month?
Yep. There is videos of blue tinted rain in some of the Texas national parks. So some people think that this is chemicals being sprayed or cloud seeding programs.
Cloud seeding.
And because apparently Texas has 7 active cloud seeding programs.
Okay.
And so some people are starting to blame some of the unnatural weather in the area from cloud seeding. So, and they think that it's possibly, this is where the conspiracy comes in. They think part of it is purposeful environmental sabotage and population control because they think the blue rain is poisoning them.
Well, blue in nature is a
Beautiful.
rare, yes, it is, but isn't it? It's a somewhat
super
rare
uncommon.
pigment.
Yeah. True blue
the
is
fact-
almost unheard of.
Well, I'm looking at this blue rain that people are posting, and it looks like, a slushy that melted. Like it's just an unnatural blue. I have not seen this.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
It is weird.
And the weirdest thing about this, as far as I could tell, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that's done their own analysis, I couldn't find it. But the weird thing is that no one's really
Looking into it?
looking into it.
I don't understand that. That blows my mind.
Yeah. So as far as I could tell, there was no chemical analysis of this rain, which is a little concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird. Some people, their explanation is that it's tinted. It's tinted due to atmospheric particles like pollen and dust. But it's like, why is it blue?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never seen any pollen or dust that's like electric slushy blue.
The other explanation is the silver iodide that they use to seed.
Yeah,
That makes a lot.
would-
That was actually my first thought, funny enough.
But wouldn't we see that more often if that was the case? Like,
Cloud
you have to
seeding's
remember-
not super common, and Texas had a drought recently.
And they have 7 programs going on over there, so maybe it's all accumulating in certain areas because of the atmosphere, and
that would
then
make
dumping
sense. then.
water in the spring, dumping it out in the spring. I mean, it's supposedly and silver iodide is non-toxic in small doses. But
Well, people who ingest it, if they ingest a lot of it, don't they turn blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a
Isn't there, like,
politician who
that-
did that one time, and the results were pretty hilarious.
wasn't there a blue man that
Yeah.
because he swore by silver or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah,
like
that's
that?
the guy. That's the guy, man. Yeah,
Oh, he was a
like
politician?
I want to say he was a Nevada politician, but I might be just remembering where.
Oh yeah, that was so bizarre. That was his key to a long life, to longevity.
Silver.
Yeah.
right.
But the meteorologists just say that it is either El Nino or just some natural variability. So
El Nino
the-
Azul this year.
it's just like, it's so goofy. Now, the other one that I think is a little more maybe nefarious, UK's Satan geoengineering program.
Why would they call it that?
Right.
That's a good question. I thought the same thing. So why is it called the Satan program? Well, it actually stands for Stratospheric Aerosol Transport and Nucleation.
They could have come up
Not
with
at all
better.
forced. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just organically happened that way.
So supposedly that acronym has been around for a while, like a long time. Like it's always been this stuff's always been called that. I am like, this is weird.
Well, you would think like people hear that the public would probably have a pretty negative perception of whatever you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
So what's the goal of the Satan geoengineering
This
program?
is the best part. Satan. What do you think of when you think about hell in terms of smell?
Fire and stinky eggs.
Yeah. Well, they release sulfur dioxide
Oh my gosh.
to form sulfuric acid clouds. This is the claim, okay? And they do this to help block out the sunlight.
This cannot be real. This cannot be real.
Yeah. Let's burn brimstone into the atmosphere and call it Satan.
Right. so
This is like something a child would come up with.
exactly. So again, Satan, stratospheric aerosol transport and nucleation, is a normal scientific term that is used for aerosol studies.
Okay.
Okay? And it's not actually a program name.
Okay.
So people,
They took
theorists,
some liberties.
conspiracy theorists think that it's a program, but it's actually just all aerosol studies fall under the Satan banner.
Okay.
Well, that's good, sort of.
That makes me feel a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah. Now there is a UK program that explored geoengineering, but it's called SPICE, so it's not quite as exciting, and it's not as catchy to the public.
Spice.
Yeah. So unfortunately, no Satan program exists.
Unfortunately.
And but there are sulfur dioxide injections that are studied for cooling effects, but it's in controlled experiments.
Okay.
So it's technically It's a real thing, and it does fall under the Satan banner. So it is a Satan study.
Well,
because that's what all aerosol studies are.
It's just cold air.
What? No, not cold air. It's the sulfur dioxide. It cools off.
I know, but it's meant to cool.
Yeah, but you could
but
you release it into the air around the world and put us into an eternal darkness.
Well, you know what? I think that's a perfect segue into Sir Jaime's topic, because he's going to be talking about global cooling today.
Yeah, I am.
From the Satan Project?
Well, funny enough, actually, we do have a few interesting, what would you call it, religious themed stuff. So this dovetails nicely with yours, Alex. So there was a bill called, well, actually, before I even start with that, I think it's really trippy that back in '62, Lyndon Johnson, who was president at the time, I think, either that or VP, he told students at Southwest Texas State University, dang, he who controls the weather will control the world. Like, what an odd thing to say, to quote Bart Simpson. Like, isn't that weird? So, fast forward to now, like also a month ago, during the blue rain period. That's what I'm going to call this part of the year now, the blue rain period.
The blue rain period.
Florida decided they were going to pass a bill called Senate Bill 56, SB 56 in other words, and it's banning weather modification and geoengineering. So they're pretty much just saying, like, if you are putting things into the atmosphere with the intention of altering the weather, no, you can't do that. Now, the reason why I think that's interesting is twofold. First, that was supposed to be a conspiracy theory. Now there's a bill about it. So some people are rolling their eyes and saying, oh, well, they're just pandering to the conspiracy theorists. Blah, 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 blah. Insert Florida man meme here. Sure, that's possible. But to me, it's a smoking gun that it is a genuine concern. But that's not the weirdest part. This is what dovetails with Alex's. There's a fella, fascinating and strange fella, named Augustus Dorico. And first of all, one of the weird things about this guy, he has a glorious Kentucky waterfall style mullet. Like,
oh, I've got to look him up.
It's a thing of it's stunning. It's stunning mullet. So there's that. But more important is this guy's studied a lot of different belief systems, which, I find admirable and relatable. But he's now Christian, and this is a quote. He's mad that Florida is banning weather modification because he has a cloud seeding startup. And this is a quote. I view in no small part what we're doing at Rainmaker as cautiously and with scrutiny from others and the advice from others, helping to establish the kingdom of God. Yeah. So, kind of a fun little yin to the Satan yang that Alex was talking about. Super weird. He also states, and this is also a quote, China spends hundreds of millions of dollars every year on their cloud seeding program and has 38,000 employees working on weather modification in Beijing. So the reason I bring this up is, one, it's interesting, and two, everybody needs to know about this Dorico guy. He's actually got some close ties to the Thiel Institute, which at some point we need to talk about that. Like Peter Thiel and Palantir and this creepy social credit score master list thing that's going on right now.
Yeah.
But not to digress. I just, wanted to point that out too, that there's a tie between Mr. Kentucky Waterfall, God's Kingdom on Earth, weather modification man, and Peter Thiel.
He does. His mullet is very grand.
It is it's very luxurious.
Yeah. I mean, it stands out. I'm not a fan, but I will say, even if you're going to do something wrong, doing the wrong thing the right way, that is the best specimen of mullet I've ever seen. But oh gosh, another thing I wanted to talk about is a much more mundane sounding acronym, ARIA. So this is the Advanced Research and Innovation Agency. It's a government-backed body in the UK, and they're spending about £60 million. I don't know what the conversion rate is, but it's a lot of money to block out the sun. And by block out, I mean really more like reflecting the sun. But it's a really bizarre attempt at reversing climate change. You know, and there's all sorts of attempts to do this. I think carbon sequestration is probably the most logical, you know, because planting trees and bringing back natural environments, like, that's sensible to me. But what their main logic has to do with, as Alex mentioned, spraying compounds into the atmosphere to block out the sun. Which, again, what's infuriating about this is, on one hand, we've got people saying this is a conspiracy theory, and then at the same time talking about these very public experiments and forms of research. So I really don't understand how people can hold both of those views at once. So to me, that's just very bizarre and doesn't make a lot of sense. Same thing with, you know, these bills that we were talking about with regard to banning weather modification, but also saying that there is no weather modification taking place. But what I find more interesting, though, and it's been a very popular view and had a huge consensus up until probably the mid-90s, when global warming became a more predominant theory, and then that, of course, evolved into climate change. But global cooling was something that for a good century was kind of regarded as very logical. And there were multiple reasons for this. One was this was when aerosols were starting to sort of become noticeable, like people were actually inventing and utilizing it. And some people thought that it could have a cooling effect, which is funny because, you know, for us who grew up in the 90s, the argument was that the world was getting warmer because of the ozone layer being damaged by aerosols. But as we've just discussed, both me and Alex, there are absolutely aerosols that do have cooling effects. In this case, deliberate cooling effects. But one of the other reasons is a thing called orbital forcing. More on that in a moment. But one thing that we do know with absolute certainty is there is a long-term cycle to the world's weather. And this does include ice ages. That is a fundamental part of planet Earth. And what causes these ice ages is a few different factors, but one of the most notable examples is orbital forcing. So what this is it's very slow. It's not something that happens dramatically like, you know, the switch of the magnetosphere, which everybody's worried about right now. But rather, it's just a really slow change in the Earth's axis tilt, which alters the shape of its orbit for a time. And what this does is it limits the amount of sunlight that reaches the world, and as such, makes the seasons less intense and makes the timing between seasons longer. And once it reaches an apex or a peak, what you end up with are ice ages. And these oscillations are usually about 20,000 years. So you have periods where it warms up, and then it slowly cools down, and then it slowly warms up. And this all takes place within about a 20,000 year window. The reason why this is concerning is our ice age was a few thousands of years off from that model, from that prediction. So a lot of people in the mid 20th century thought human intervention is going to speed that up. And instead of having an ice age, say, let's just say, because the 70s was when people were the most afraid of it, instead of 3070, it might happen in 2070 or 2030 or 2020, which hasn't happened now, but, you know, that was sort of the speculation during the 70s. So this was a really frightening suspicion that people had. And even though it didn't come to pass within the time window that corresponds with, what we're currently experiencing, it's still a very reasonable model just on the grounds that irrefutably the world does go through orbital forcing. Some aerosols do cool the planet atmospherically. And so despite our concerns about climate change, which I'm not saying are a real concern, nor am I trying to minimize that, it is an inevitability that at some point we are going to have another ice age. And as somebody who enjoys 65-degree indoor weather, I say bring it on.
But what will happen to your spiders if it gets that cold?
They will freeze.
But James will be comfortable.
James will be comfortable. Well, Alex, what's the temperature? The temperature in our house right now is 66 degrees.
Nice.
Yeah, whatever,
Wonderful.
James. Somebody who does not like the cold too much. I beg to differ. All right. James, was there anything else that you had on your mind?
Not really. I think that kind of covers the big three that I wanted to discuss.
Okay. I am taking some more recent items, things that are going on. Because I feel like weather modification has been a big topic of interest lately. And maybe it's just like the circles that I'm in on the interwebs and Instagram. But I see a lot of people talking about weather modification. Yeah, I had a conversation with my cousin. She and her family believe in it. And I'm like, it's not just me. I don't know if I necessarily believe this stuff that I'm going to talk about, but let me share it with you. I am going to be talking about the idea that hurricanes have been purposely engineered to hit certain regions for specific reasons, and this mysterious fog that has been hitting certain places around the U.S. this year. So I figure I'll start with the hurricanes first, because they've been real nasty these past couple of years. We're currently in hurricane season, though, or are we coming into hurricane season soon? I know it runs through October, I think, but,
We've had a time with tornadoes this year.
Yeah, you have.
That's something that Alex and I talk about all the time. We're like, maybe we should move back to Kentucky, and then we're like, but it's just Tornado Alley now. I feel like every other week there's a tornado.
Yeah.
Hopefully that slows down, but when it comes to hurricanes, I'm going to talk specifically about Hurricane Helene, because this one was it caused a lot of chatter and gossip. So it happened last September, 2024, but it struck the southeastern United States and it just devastated North Carolina. Like, little communities completely destroyed, washed off the map, and the aid given to the area afterwards was just a joke. But some conspiracy theorists allege that the U.S. government created the hurricane and targeted the area for a few reasons. Have you guys heard that?
Yes.
Those rumors?
I had.
Yes, well. Number one reason that some people think that this is the case, it's a Republican-leaning area, and given the election that was going on at the time, some people believe that this was an attempt to prevent residents from making it to the polls. And I feel like this idea is a little far-fetched, maybe just a little bit. Though it did displace hundreds of thousands of people, over 70,000 homes were damaged during the storm. And to make matters worse, many of the area's essential services like water and sewage and the power grid were all heavily damaged. So, getting basic necessities to people was really hard. But some people suspect that it was all just an attempt to keep people from going to vote for Trump at the polls in November.
Well, it didn't help that FEMA literally ignored people that were voting for Trump as well.
Yes, that was a different hurricane, but yes.
This is not the North Carolina one?
No, that was it. This is the North Carolina one. The one that I thought it was in Florida.
No, that was North Carolina.
Well, it's bad news bears. People are still fuming over it. But if this was the goal to prevent people from going to the polls, it didn't work, obviously. But I don't know. I think this idea is just absurd that a hurricane was created to prevent people from going to vote.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's just my little opinion
It's
there.
like, and that's the area you target.
Yeah.
Well, the other
don't
reason.
know.
There's
it's
easier
just
ways to suppress voting than engineering a spiral
A
of wind.
hurricane.
Yeah.
Yes, the other idea that some conspiracy theorists have out there is that the hurricane was engineered because there are lithium mines in the area, and some people believe that the government targeted that area in order to seize the land, specifically Chimney Rock, North Carolina, in order to get a hold of all of the lithium.
There's some
also-
truth to that. My prediction, you heard it here
But
first.
I don't know. I think that it is.
I was just going to say World War III will be fought over rare earth metals. Uh-oh.
Oh, James,
You
don't
guys
be
there?
saying
Oh,
stuff like
okay.
that. Freaking me
You were
out.
really quiet, and I got worried. I thought maybe the sound disconnected.
No, well, I don't know. I still think that it's far-fetched, but I will admit that when it comes to natural disasters, especially ones that have been more recent, there have been some very suspicious coincidences with certain areas, with certain infrastructural projects getting hit.
Yeah.
You know? I'm going to stop
Yeah.
there for the lithium aspect. I'm not convinced that that is a reason why they would geoengineer a storm to hit the area, but,
Yeah.
you know, I just
I don't think
this
it was
is-
engineered so much as I think that when it did happen, they were like, jackpot.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's like, I think that would be a very complicated way to go about getting something like this. But then at the same time, it's like, it is a resource that people want to get their hands on. So why wouldn't they? I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Yeah. I think you would need to look into whether anyone has actually started on that. I mean, people
Yeah.
have started rebuilding. Surely a big company, if they were really wanting to do that, or the government, they would have moved on it and started doing the mining already, or worked towards it.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
some further investigating in the years to come.
in the years to come. Well, I just realized that you're right. It was FEMA that ignored residents in North Carolina to some degree. FEMA gave North Carolina about $1.2 billion in aid to help residents, while at the same time announcing military aid packages for overseas for more than that. So there's a lot of madness going on. But that's enough about hurricanes, okay?
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna dive into the mysterious fog now.
Ooh, poison fog.
Yeah, and this is if you hadn't heard about it, this was all over my social media for a period of time earlier, and I was actually nervous before we went to Florida for our vacation because I was like, this is part of the place where it's happening. Like, there are people in Destin who are saying they're seeing this, and I was scared. And we did wake up with fog some days, but in this incidences, the mysterious fog has been followed by pretty severe illnesses by residents in the area. And yeah, it's concerning, to be honest, because we had this really thick fog around the same time. It actually happened here in Georgia where we had some fog, but people have dubbed the whole situation Fogvid 24.
What's it called?
Fogvid.
Oh, like...
Yeah.
Okay, like COVID. Okay.
Yeah. James, did you guys have any odd fog in Kentucky at any point this year?
Not that I can recall. All we've had is cicadas and tornadoes.
I don't like those tornadoes. Cicadas are okay though. But people in Florida, Texas, and Kansas started reporting this odd fog in their area, and that it had, quote, burning chemical-like smells. And then people started getting respiratory illnesses and bad tummy aches. And the reports fueled conspiracy theories linking the fog to historical events like Operation Sea Spray, which happened in the 1950s. You guys know what Operation Sea Spray was?
No.
Well, it was apparently a U.S. Navy experiment that involved dispersing bacteria over San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
I
talked
remember
about
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So this
This is in World War II.
the fog
Around
vid
there.
happens, yeah, and then everybody's like
Or no, it was after World War II.
remembering Operation Sea Spray. And around this time, this is also when all this started happening, was when there were all those mysterious drones in the air, and everybody was like, it's aliens, and people were like, no, it's drones. So, you know, those two things happening at the same time had a lot of people very nervous about potential chemical or biological items going on.
That reminds me of that fire that was around here where the chemical plant caught on fire.
Yeah.
And they told everybody to stay indoors. And then they told everybody that there's nothing dangerous about it, but stay indoors.
Stay indoors. There's nothing to worry about.
And there's no long-term side effects. I'm like, okay, whatever you say.
Yep.
I was always curious about Operation Sea Spray. I didn't know that's what it was called. But the fact that I know that they wanted to monitor, like, how prepared certain towns would be from, like, bioweapon attacks. But why in the world did they specifically pick the bacteria that they picked, Serratia marcescens? The reason I mention that is that's the stuff, like, you ever not clean your shower in a little bit and you get kind of like that little orange film? You know what I'm talking about? That's what that is. That's what they sprayed.
Does
I don't know.
Cause
do what?
all of the illnesses, respiratory and...
It's not particularly
aches?
dangerous, but if, like, you're having trouble already, like, I know the one guy who died from it, he'd had, like, surgery recently, and then he gets some of that, and it infected him. It's very unlikely to actually harm you.
I wonder if, like, the illness from it is so specific, maybe it's easy to track. So, like, they go to the hospital and they have the symptoms, or like, okay, this is easy to identify.
Yeah.
That's very possible.
Well, when it comes to the mysterious fog, experts obviously dispute all of the claims that it was, unnatural. They say it's 100% natural, and the, quote, chemical odor said to be due to the fog's ability to trap and concentrate pollution. And that was why people were getting sick. It's because it was pollution, guys. Yes, but wait. Some people caught video of visible particles flying around the fog.
I would have caught it in a jar.
They say that is the biological contaminant that caused people to get sick, but scientists claim that shining lights through fog can make water droplets appear as floating particles, and they said it's a natural optical illusion. Makes me, I'm curious. I don't understand it enough to say, oh yes, that's exactly what's happening, or that's not what's happening. I've seen some anecdotal stories from people claiming to have gotten the fog tested in accredited labs. Yes. And that they returned results of some type of bacteria or fungus in the air that caused the symptoms. But they are all anecdotal, so I can't say that I necessarily can 100% trust or believe them. For me, this is my thought, because this was earlier in the year. Winter is when most people get sick. So people claiming their illnesses are from fog, I think it's probably just all of the nastiness that happens in the winter. There's less sunlight. Everybody's staying inside because it's cool. I don't know. I will say that this was the worst winter that we've had in a very long time.
It lasted until like 3 days ago. It's ridiculous.
You're not even kidding. Well, Valerie's upstairs with a cold that she caught from goodness knows who, but yeah, it was a bad winter. So I'm not convinced that all of the illness that was going around was from fog. I think it was just natural winter illnesses, but it was a very weird winter. I'll just end on that note.
Yeah, but it's global cooling. Ice Age, here we come.
Project Satan.
Oh, man.
Gonna make it permanent winter. Now you're gonna be sick all year round.
Don't say that. Get your vitamin D supplements. Well, listen, this has been fun. Alex, I know Alex is a huge skeptic. He was a little down when he found out we were talking about weather modification, because he's like, I feel like it's all fake. And I was like, you know what? We're going to have a good conversation with James. I think that we did that, right, guys?
It ended up being pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, listener, I hope that you agree. And if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, send them to us on our 13th Floor Instagram. They're at 13th Floor Podcast. Yeah. Who does our music, Alex?
Our music? It's by Grant Cook. You can find his music on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Anywhere you listen to music, those last two are the same thing.
Yes. Listen, James, what's your word of wisdom to wrap out the show?
Booty.
When the Ice Age hits, herring is a great source of vitamin D.
There you go. A little tidbit of knowledge for you. Until next week, we hope that you can keep it strange. Yeah.